Okay, so let's learn about maps description. As I said already, the maps can be different, such as a map of an area or a neighborhood, a map of the roads, and a map of a building. No matter what type of a map you are likely to get, the task is always the same, and this is to summarize and to make comparisons. Okay? I would rather say that we have this same in all writing one reports. So no matter what you get, if it is a process, a map, or a line graph, the task is the same: summarize and compare. So what should we do to summarize? Basically, we talk about the changes. Let's have a look at the map of Islip Town Center. We can see that some places were converted into something else. For example, the main road will be, because we are going to talk about the planned development, so it's the future, will be turned into pedestrians only. Park, as you can see, is reduced in size, new housing appears, and there is a large ring road around the place. So these are the changes, okay? And these are something that we can summarize and draw a kind of an overview. Then, what do we compare? Basically, we compare the items, the buildings, the ponds, the lakes, it depends on the map, but we can see some items like benches or fountains or some statues, whatever. We also talk about the sizes and, of course, the location, because some places can be just replaced, relocated to another area, and that's what we have to think about before writing. So basically, answer the question, what am I looking at? What do I see? What can I see on the map? What are the changes? Now, usually we have a lot of changes on the map, but sometimes we may also talk about the stability. Some places may be not changed, and in some ways it can be important. It depends on the map. Okay? Now we are going to study how to write it on the example. Let's have a look. This is Jellyfish Island in 1990 and Jellyfish Island now. So as you can see, the tense is going to be present perfect because we talk about some changes that have already been done to the area, but we don't know when exactly these changes happened. They could be in 2001 or 2010, it depends. We don't see this information, so we would use present perfect. Then, let's have a look at what actually changed. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, but you can also look at it in Miro, okay? So, obviously, some places remain the same. We can see the lighthouse here, and we can see the lighthouse on the other map. We can see footpaths, we can see Observatory Hill, and we can see some other places, like, for example, houses here or a cafe. They remain the same. But we note down the changes. If we look carefully, we can see that car park changed into the wood. Also, we can see that the road changed into a cycle path. Some facilities for people like post offices, fish factory, and petrol station have been transformed too into a house, bicycle hire, holiday flats. And if we look at the east of our beautiful island, we can see that something have been built. The cafe, right? And horse riding center evolved instead of the farmhouse. Okay? So, if we summarize the information that we get from this analysis, we can see that the changes happened in the west of the island, in the east a little bit, somewhere in between, and we see no changes high in Observatory Hill and with the footpath. It's the same in both maps. So, what conclusion can we make? We can see that in the task it's given that the place is car-free. And if we look at the maps, we can see that car park, petrol station, the road, all the facilities connected to cars have been demolished and transformed into something else. So probably this is something important that we should note down in our overall, right? So all the facilities connected to cars have been changed. But do we have any more changes here? If we look carefully, we can see that there used to be a farmhouse, there used to be a fish factory, there used to be a post office, places where people can actually work. But the version of the Jellyfish Island, version 2.0, now we can see that the farm have been transformed into a horse riding center. We don't see any fish factories anymore. We see a holiday flats set. And we also see a house here. So what changes are there? Basically, there are two changes. The first one is connected to cars, and the second one is connected to the tourist industry. So, what should we do with this kind of information? Firstly, we are writing the introduction. Introduction mustn't look the same way as in our task. You should always paraphrase it. What are the best ways to paraphrase the task? We still have the maps. Please don't change the map into something else, because sometimes people say illustrations, schemes, plans. No, if you have maps, still you use maps in the paraphrasing. This is not something that should be changed. But you can see the word show. And this one can be substituted for a synonym. You can use the word demonstrate. You may use the word illustrate. You may also say give information on. So choose some that you like. You may choose just one option, because usually we have show in the task, and you can substitute it for demonstrate easily or illustrate if you want to. And then we say something like that. How Jellyfish Island changed from 1990 until now. Or the maps demonstrate the layout of Jellyfish Island in 1990 and how it looks now when it is car-free. And this is our paraphrasing. This is our introduction. Just one sentence. You don't have to write more. In some cases, maybe you would include something more, like 2 sentences, but it's not a must. 1 sentence is enough. But 1 sentence is not enough for our overall. Let's have a look at overall. This is the example, and we can see that we reflect 2 major features. So it's the center for tourists rather than a place of work. And the move to make the island car-free also means that all vehicle infrastructure was removed. So we note 2 basic changes. On some maps, there can be only 1 change. For example, it can be industrialization of the area. It can be modernization. It can be the increase of accessibility, or it can be enlargement, or on the contrary, some places can be reduced. So it depends on the map. In this case, we can see 2 basic changes, and that's why we reflect them both in our overall. Now, when we talk about overall, please always remember that we do not say in conclusion, to sum up, on balance, to conclude. It looks natural that we have a kind of a conclusion in our mind and we write about that, but not this case, okay? We would use something like overall, blah, 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 looking from an overall perspective, blah, blah, blah. If we have just 1 change, we may say the principal change to the area, to the center, was, is, had been, will be, or have been, depends on the tense. So these are the words that are cool to use, okay? But these are not. Now, let's have a look on the maps again. In body 1 and body 2, we have to present the details. What exactly changed? How it changed? What happened? Or what has happened or what will happen again. So we can divide the map description into two basic things. We can divide the information according to the position. For example, here you can divide the information to the western part and eastern part. So some changes in the west are going to be explained in body 1, and some changes in the east are going to be shown in body 2. Also, you may divide the changes into groups according to the reason they were made. For example, if we talk about car facilities, we may put it in body 1, and tourist places we can put in body 2. Okay, so it depends. Sometimes it's difficult to say about the position because the changes happened everywhere. We are going to have a look at such map where changes are done everywhere. So it's difficult to distinguish it according to the position, to the location on the map. So you would divide the body paragraphs into two parts according to something else. For example, buildings and natural environment, something that changed and something that was preserved. Or maybe if you have little changes, you may talk about the first map in body 1, so you just basically describe it. You can see this, you can see that, and you show it in body 1. And in body 2, you make the comparison. We will look at this example a bit later because usually we have lots of changes. It's a rare case where we have just 2 or 3 changes. It's difficult to explain, and that's why we would use the technique of explaining and giving details on the first map in body 1 and comparison in body 2. But it's difficult, it's hard. I hope you won't ever see it in your exam. Now, can you please have a look at the examples of body 1 and body 2? You may stop the video at this point, so it's going to be more comfy for you. Okay, I hope you have managed to do so. Now, what you can see here, so you can see that basically we divide the map into two parts. And we first talk about the main road, then we talk about the small shop, the cafe next to ferry port. So we talk about the western side and we smoothly move to the east. And in body 2, we talk about Sandy Bay and the cafe and horse riding center. So in this example, we can see the division according to the location of changes. Okay? Then, what should we use to describe the changes? We can use certain verbs. They are given here. Of course, we see the word build as our major word, but of course you can change it for something else. We can say construct, we can say erect, add, if we want to say that something have been built or is going to be built, right? Do not say the same word all the same way. So it shouldn't be build, 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 build. It should be something varied, okay? Also, we may see some words like demolish, destroy, knock down, pull down, cut down if we talk about trees, add, transform, remove. And another thing that is connected to grammar more, what kind of thing, what kind of feature do we use to describe building, constructions, becoming? We usually use passive voice because our buildings cannot build themselves alone. So people build them, but we shouldn't say some people build because we don't know who built it. We would say a shopping mall has been built, an elementary school was constructed, the science lab was greatly expanded, and things like that. Okay, so see to your buildings, do not make any actions, but actions are done on them. We also can use some prepositions. I think I already mentioned today that if we have the map And if we see south, north, west, and east, it's better to mention them. So to the north, in the center. You also can talk about kilometers if it is clear on the map that there are some kilometers. On the corner, behind, across, in front of. So use these prepositions of place if you want to say about a change, a building, a construction of something. It's better if you mention such things. Then you also can use certain words if you have some roads and bridges, like pass through, run, link, connect, extend, at the junction with. So please learn these words and phrases. They are going to be super useful. Plus, grammar. I'm going to leave it for you to study yourself because it's presented on the board. So basically we would use different constructions, and our sentences should be far from simple, okay? So we can use relative clauses, we use passive structure, we use comparative structures, we can use infinitives and gerunds. So please be attentive that you use at least 4 different types of sentences. Thus, the examiner will see that grammar resource is good, and we can opt for a 6 or even a 7. Now, let's talk about the procedure. When you first see the map, you analyze the information, you draw a summary answering the questions: what are the main changes? Why has they happened? What has changed? Okay? And then you divide the information into 2 or 3 parts if it is possible, or you also can see only one change. Thus, it's something that you would place in your overview overall. Then you write the introduction and the overview. And then you think how to divide the information. What you should put in body 1, what you should put in body 2. Is there body 3? Sometimes it is also possible to write about body 3. Then you write them and do the self-check, okay? Mind this, we have no time to make a draft. So you should write immediately on your computer, although you are going to be presented a piece of paper to make a draft, but you don't have enough time for this. So just type it immediately, okay? Then, no informal language, only formal style. You can also use ping pong style to make comparison. Like, for example, you talk about this building, however, another place, another building was built or something like that. So ping pong style, try to make comparison where relevant, okay? And do not spend more than 20 minutes, okay? Now, here is the task that you have to do at home. You are to write your own map's description of this place. This is Science Park in 2008 and Science Park today. Firstly, you can see that you would talk about the Science Park in the past and today. Thus, you use present perfect. Then, look at the map. What changes are there? I would say that there are a lot of them, and basically you won't be able to divide the information according to the position, because you can see changes here, you can see changes here, and another changes here. Cybersecurity is enlarged, a station, a bus stop, so lots of changes all over the map. So what are they? Actually, the changes can be divided into 2 groups logically. There are some changes connected to commute. So some cycle paths appeared, there is a bus stop, there is a station, car park is reduced in size, right? So there were some changes connected to the transport system, to accessibility of Science Park. Although you can see that there were some other changes, like the research and development unit appeared, yes, or we had reception in the past, now we have a university hub. Cybersecurity is enlarged, IT center turned into innovation center. So basically you see 2 types of change. changes for commuters and cyclists, and changes to the buildings. Okay, so I would say that blue is going to be body 1 or body 2, depends, and the green is going to be body 1 or again body 2. So you would divide the information into 2 parts here. Now, this is the task. Try to write it, use the example, use the vocabulary, use the grammar, and we will see in the end what your result is. Good luck!